Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavate Ruttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nishtiki Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're reading from Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text number 1. Is that projected or what? Yes. You can just project 18.1 on the screen. Then I don't want to see that. I have this. आगे आगे देख रहा हूँ बस. ठीक है, चलो, good. Oh, the text doesn't come here or it comes? Okay. Arjuna uvacha Sannyasya mahabaho Tattvamichhami veditum Tyagasya cha rishikesha Pritakeshi nishudana. Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, Tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, Sannyasa, O killer of the Keshi demon, Rishikesha. Purport. Actually, the Bhagavad Gita is finished in 17 chapters. The 18th chapter is a supplementary summarization of the topics discussed before. In every chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna stresses that devotional service under the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. The same point is summarized in the 18th chapter as the most confidential path of knowledge. In the first 6 chapters, stress was given to devotional service, Yoginam api sarvesham. Of all yogis or transcendentalists, one who always thinks of me within himself is the best. In the next 6 chapters, pure devotional service and its nature and activity were discussed. And in the third 6 chapters, knowledge, renunciation, activities of material nature and transcendental nature and devotional service are described. It was concluded that all activities should be performed in conjunction with the Supreme Lord, summarized by the words Om Tat Sat, which indicate Vishnu, the Supreme Person. In the third part of Bhagavad Gita, the devotional service was established by the example of past acharyas and Brahma Sutras. The Vedanta Sutra, which cites the devotional service, is the ultimate purpose of life and nothing else. Certain impersonalists consider themselves monopolizers of the knowledge of Vedanta Sutra, but actually Vedanta Sutra is meant for understanding devotional service. For the Lord himself is the composer of the Vedanta Sutra and he is its knower. That is described in the 15th chapter. In every scripture, every way, the devotional service is the objective. That is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. As in the second chapter, a synopsis of the whole subject matter was given. Similarly, the 18th chapter also, a summary of all instructions is given. The purpose of life is indicated to be renunciation and attainment of the transcendental position above the 3 modes of material nature. Arjuna wants to clarify 2 distinct subject matters of the Bhagavad Gita, namely renunciation, Tyaga, and renounced order of life, Sannyas. Thus he is asking the meaning of the 2 words. 2 words used in this verse to address Supreme Lord Rishikesh and Keshinishudan are significant. Rishikesh is Krishna, the master of senses, who can always help us attain mental serenity. Arjuna requests him to summarize everything in such a way that he can remain equipoised. Yet he has some doubts, and doubts are always compared to demons. He therefore addresses Krishna as Keshinishudana. Keshi was a most formidable demon who was killed by the Lord. Now Arjuna is expecting Krishna to kill the demon of doubt. Hare Krishna. So welcome back. We are looking at 18th chapter today, text 1. And Arjuna is opening this by asking Krishna to illustrate the difference between two words which are very often used. One is Tyaga and one is Sannyasa. Okay, now what is Tyaga? Tyaga basically means, the Prabhupada translates a renunciation, but Tyaga basically is the mood of giving up. Okay, now giving up what? Okay, if you see the context of the Bhagavad Gita, the Tyaga is related not to karma, but to a particular type of chetana. Tyaga is not about karma. Karma tyag की बात नहीं कर रहे Bhagavad Gita में. कहीं पर, because Krishna has said entire Gita to make Arjuna fight, but still he has told him to fight in the mood of Tyaga. It's a Tyaga Bhavana. Now what is a Tyaga Bhavana? I am going to speak in great detail. And the second thing which is there in the scriptures in general is sannyas, which is formally giving up everything, okay, including karma. Okay, so in sannyas, you give up the karma itself. Whereas, and that's the general understanding, because one doesn't act in terms of, certain varnashrama like that. It gives up, actions in general. But in Tyaga, one does the action but still gives up three things. Now, what are the three things that one gives up? Okay, this is there in the entire Gita. Okay, the first type of Tyaga Krishna speaks about is, throughout the Gita, is technically called Kartritva Buddhi Tyaga. Kartritva Buddhi Tyaga means what? The Tyaga that I am the doer. मैं करता हूं. इस भावना को आपको त्याग करना है. That's what Krishna speaks in the Gita, right? It is there throughout. Like in the 3rd chapter, Krishna says, Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma karta aham iti manyate. Actually, everything is done by the 3 modes, but because of illusion, a person thinks that, false ego, he thinks that I am the doer. Okay? That is one part. Then in the 11th chapter, Krishna said, Nimitta matram bhavasavyasacha. Right? That means you don't think you are the doer. You don't think you are going to fight this war and win. Fight it on my behalf. You understand? This is कर्तृत्व बुद्धि त्याग. कर्तृत्व बुद्धि त्याग मतलब कर्ता में हूं, इस भावना को आपको छोड़ना है. आप कर्ता नहीं हो. The understanding that Bhagavan is doing things through me, right? I am just his instrument. I have got this mind, body and senses, and I am going to act as per his injunctions in the scriptures. So I am not the doer. He is only doing everything. This is not Mayavad, don't get confused. No, why it is not? If you see in the 18th chapter itself, in the 18th chapter ahead, Krishna speaks of 5 causes of action. Okay, we have discussed that verse many times in the past, right? That particular verse which is there, where Krishna says, 18.14, Krishna says, Adhishtanam tata karta karanam cha pratak vidam vividascha pratak cheshta devam chevatra panchamam. If you see the translation, what does Krishna say over there? Krishna says, there are 5 causes of action: the place of action, the performer, the senses, the endeavor, and ultimately the supersoul. You understood? Okay. So that means, see how we are not the karta. Let us try to understand this. Because anything you do, let's say I lift this also, this mobile, I lift it from here and keep it here. If you ask me the question, who did this? As per this Gita verse, there are 5 causes for this. One is the place of action. Okay. One is the actor itself, the Atma. One is the senses. One is the endeavor. The endeavor is sometimes translated as the pranavayu. Right? You need pranavayu, no? If your vayu is, that means you need a prana in your system to do something, endeavor. And ultimately there is a Paramatma. So there are 5. So one may say, अरे 5 में तो 4 तो मेरे संबंध में है. नहीं, वैसे नहीं है. वो जो बाकी 4 में ना, only one is the Atma. The other 3 are related to Prakriti. The place, the body, the pranavayu, this is all Prakriti. So 3 are Prakriti. one is the Atma and one is Paramatma. Now if you see like that, the Prakriti itself is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Okay. Tomorrow if the Prakriti, the Lord, doesn't allow the Prakriti to function, a person can get paralysis and he cannot lift it. He may desire to lift this and keep it here, but he cannot. Only his desire is there because his Prakriti is only not cooperating. Prana is not there, Indriya is not there. Kuch nahi kar pata ho. You understood? So out of the 5, 3 are related to Prakriti, which is controlled by the Lord. Though we are currently sitting in Prakriti, okay. One is we ourselves and one is Paramatma. No, somebody may say, "ठीक है यार, जो भी at least 20% तो मेरा है." I'm at least 20%. So for that one Acharya, Ramanuja, he gives a very nice example. He says, let us say there is a temple in which the Lord, the deity of the Lord is coming out in a palki. You have seen sometimes? The deity of the Lord comes out in a palki and all the devotees carry it around. So he says, let us say the king of the land comes to carry the palki himself. Sometimes we see in India in many places, the kings themselves come to take the Lord in a procession. When the king comes, so he says, because the palki is very big, 4 servants are also there with the king to help him lift the palki. But what do people say? Nobody is going to say that the 4 servants lifted the palki. People will say, "अरे राजा खुद स्वयं पालकी लेके जा रहे थे भाई." तो आप बोल सकते हो, "अरे यार बाकी 4 सेवक भी तो थे ना वहां पर." अरे that is insignificant, man. It is because the king is there, those 4 fellows are standing with him. The king leaves the place to see. The whole headlines is the king did it. Okay, it is just like, let's say a prime minister goes to inaugurate some function or something. Along with him, many other 10 people will be standing. But what is the headline in the newspaper the next day? Prime Minister inaugurates this particular project. This temple was inaugurated by the Prime. Like we say, our temple was inaugurated by the President. Not the President. There were so many big officers. Matlab, each of the guys who came with the President was a big guy in himself. But do they assume any significance when the President himself is standing? No, they are just, because he is there, they are all there. उनके पीछे पीछे आगे बस 50 लोग आए थे. I was myself there when the temple got inaugurated. 50 people with the President, all big shots. But still, whom do we say inaugurated the temple? The President. Who lifted the palki? The king lifted the palki. You don't say the king and 4 servants lifted the palki. The king lifted the palki, that's it. 4 servants, they were there just, they were, because the king is there, Tomorrow the king doesn't come, then the 4 servants are insignificant. They are not counted also in this whole thing. So like that we have to understand this verse, he says. Okay, so though there are 5 causes of action, 3 are related to Prakriti, 1 is related to Jiva and 1 is the Paramatma. The king here, he says, is the Paramatma. He is the king. Okay. And that is why in that purport, Prabhupada also says, hence Paramatma is considered the ultimate doer. Prabhupada writes that in that purport. Okay. So this is what is Kartritva Buddhi Tyaga. You understood this Kartritva Buddhi Tyaga concept? So Kartritva Buddhi Tyaga means what? I am not the doer. The Lord is just using me as an instrument and doing it. Yeah? So I am not Karta. He is only the doer. Okay. So this is, you don't believe, this consciousness, this particular thought is very deep in all our deity worship also. It's like I do Shaligram worship in our temple every week. So, before we do, there is a meditation where you feel that you are not doing. Your guru is sitting and doing the whole worship and you are just sitting there as an instrument. There is a prayer actually. You are supposed to consciously feel that I am not doing. There are prayers to spiritualize the senses. The idea being that my senses cannot worship the Lord. It is only the spiritual senses that can worship the Lord. I am invoking spirituality in my senses. There is something called Karanyas and there are certain technical mudras that we do when you sit to worship the deity. The whole thought is that I am not worshipping. The Lord only through his pure devotees is worshipping. I am just sitting there, that's all. मैं सिर्फ बैठा हूँ यहाँ पर. And this is the beginning. And at the end of the deity worship, again there is a prayer. Kayena vacha manasendriyarva buddhyatmana preso karomi iti sakalam brasme narayanayadi samarpayami. Kayena vacha, whatever with the body, mind and senses, everything is done by him only. मैं कुछ नहीं किया इसमें. मैं the only credit, if you want it to say, is I agreed to be an instrument. And that is what Krishna is repeatedly saying in the Gita. You understand? 3rd chapter I said, where he's talking about Prakriti as the doer. Correct? Don't think yourself very great. Kartahamiti manyate. 11th chapter is saying, Nimitta Matra. I've already decided, Arjuna, all these fellows are going to die. It's already decided by me. Do you want to be an instrument? Stand. Take the credit. People will say Arjun killed all these fellows. Nimitta Matram Bhavasya Visa. And here also he's saying this. This is the first aspect of Tyaga. What is this Tyaga Buddhi called? Kartritva Buddhi Tyaga. You can repeat after me? Kartritva. Kartritva means what? I am the Karta. That Buddhi Tyaga. Main karta nahi hu. You understand this? This is the first type of Tyaga Krishna speaks repeatedly in the Gita. But this is not all. There is another type of Tyaga that Krishna speaks in the Gita. That is called Mamata Tyaga. Mamata Tyaga. This Mamata Tyaga also, it comes in several places. For example, I'll just tell you, if you see 3.30 Bhagavad Gita, okay, there what does Krishna say? We just go back to that very famous verse. Mahi sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatachvaraha. Okay, so in this verse there is nirmama. Nirmama means what? Mamata Tyaga. And this word nirmama comes in other places as well in the scriptures. Nirmama means what? This action is not for my pleasure. Okay, see, please try to understand. The first Tyaga was what? I am not the doer only. He is only doing everything. See, sometimes, people say also, Bhagavan is sab karwa rahe. Sometimes we laugh at them. Actually, they are talking Vedanta. They are talking Vedanta. See, now, it is an understanding which may not be very correct. But when people say, na, Bhagavan jab bulayenge aayenge, actually, in one sense, that is correct. It's not wrong. It's not completely wrong. Kartritva Buddhi is there. Yes, he is only doing through you. You are not the doer. Of course, the difference is you have to align with him. Right? I have to align myself with the Lord's instructions in general. Then only for example, see, now if you ask the question, I'm sorry, I'm going back to that. If you say, whether Karna, Duryodhan, whatever they did, Kartritva Buddhi Tyaga for them, how does it apply? The answer is, see, there what is happening is there also the Lord only is doing it through them, if you see that way. Because without the Lord's permission, as a Paramatma, Dushasana has no right to hold the hair of Draupadi and pull her. You understand? He has permitted. But the thing is, that action is not in alignment with Dharma and the Lord's instructions. And neither is that fellow who's doing such a thing wants to give any credit to the Lord for it. See, because when you're doing any evil thing, you are doing it because you want to do it, right? Even Dushasana is not thinking, I am going to do this on behalf of the Lord. Because if he had that consciousness, he wouldn't have done that in the first place. Okay. So there also the Lord only is ultimately sanctioning and getting it done. But that credit is not given and the Lord also is not taking it. He's like, okay, bhai, tu khud pe kar raha hai, whatever you want. You understood it, right? Okay. So this statement is correct only, which people say. It's a Shastric statement. We are also praying the same thing as Pujari sitting. That I am not doing anything. Lord only through his pure devotee and Guru is doing everything through me. So that part is correct. Okay, so that's the first thing. Yeah, sorry. Second thing I'm saying is Mamata Tyaga. What is this Tyaga called? Mamata Tyaga. Mamata Tyaga means what? It's a little different. The action is not for my pleasure. Okay, that means whatever action is nirmama. That means this action, whatever I'm doing, this is not, I'm doing it for my pleasure. I'm sweeping, I'm cooking. What the action itself is not for me. It is for him. That action. Okay, one is I'm not the doer. And that action which is there, right? You are doing something. Okay, like you're studying. Right? You're working. Whatever you're doing in life. Nirmama. Every action is to be done to give pleasure to the Lord. You understood? Arjuna is supposed to fight as a Kshatriya for what purpose? For his pleasure. Because the Lord is happy to see his devotees engaged as a Kshatriya. Why is Yudhishthira Maharaj doing Rajasuya Yajna? For his pleasure. That action itself is for his pleasure. He is not Karta, that is one thing. That action also is not for his pleasure. I mean, see, the beauty of the Gita is, somebody may say, Arey, the action is not for his pleasure, then why is he doing the action? See, the action he is doing because it is in alignment with his moods. You understood? Arjuna's moods is what? Kshatriya wala mode hai na uska, road of passion. Krishna is saying that also. See, if you see in the Bhagavad Gita, later I'll just tell you that verse. 1 second. Yeah, if you see 18.60, Krishna says, Yada hankaram ashritya nayotsyati iti manyate mityesha vyavasayate prakrtestvam niyokshati. If you do not act according to my nature and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. You understood? See what Krishna is saying. It's a very powerful verse. Krishna is basically saying, see, now you are thinking that you don't want to fight. But eventually your Prakriti is going to force you to fight only. And you will fight at the wrong time. You will fight with your neighbor. You will beat up somebody else. Where you are not supposed to fight, you will start fighting. See, so what the Gita says is, see, according to your Prakriti, you have a particular nature to act. But that action, do it with this bhavana of nirmama. This action is not for me. You see how beautiful the Gita is. On one hand, it allows you to engage your own Prakriti in an action. Correct? Because that's most natural for everybody, right? For Arjuna, it is very natural to fight. For a Brahmana, it is very natural to teach. For a Vaishya, it is very natural to do agriculture or do some business. Correct? For everybody in a particular Varna, what is most natural? To act according to their Prakriti is most natural. Are you getting this point or no? Yes. Like if you tell a Marwadi chap, do business, usko torture nahi hai, usko maza aa raha hai usme. Correct? Why? Because his whole Prakriti is like that only. Khoon mein business hai. Correct? Khoon mein dhanda hai uska. So if you tell him that do business, he is not thinking, yaar, itna katin instruction diya. Nahi. It is ekdam mazedar hai. A Shudra is there with a particular skill. If you tell him, use that skill, do things with that skill, it's not a torture. It is very natural. Understood? Arjuna, one name of Arjuna is Ranotsava. You know what that meaning is? The one who takes pleasure in battle. Matlab, if you tell him to go to fight, he's not thinking, it's not dangerous. You go and fight, koi maar diya to, blood aa gaya to hamare haath mein. How can I fight? You understood? So on one hand, you have to do an action which is an alignment with your body. Okay? And that action, you're doing that. So that's why actually the Kayana Vacha is more here. See, what is that verse, Kayana Vacha? Karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai narayana iti samarpayami. My actions are dedicated to Narayana. You understood? Whatever I've done. In fact, there is a verse which I say in the DT, this thing, Shaligram worship. It says, Jagrati Swapna Sushupti Avastasu Manasa Vacha Karmanam Padvyam Udarena Shishna. Shishna means genital. It says, Manasa Vacha Karmanam. That means my words, my mind and my body, Indriya, through my Hasta Padvyam Shishna. That means with my hands, legs and with my genitals. Whatever I have done, it says that it is all done for you as an offering to you only, O Lord. That none of that actions are meant. Like that we pray. Somebody may say, "Arey, ye kya prayer ho gaya?" Aise hi hai. That is actually nirmama. You understood? Nirmamata matlab, see, I am allowed to do, see the beauty of the Gita. It is allowing you to act as per your need. But that action itself, your samarpayami, and Lord is accepting it. Lord is accepting it. Lord is not saying that Shishna ka action nahi, mere ko nahi chale. Ye to bahut hi khatarnak actually. Nahi. That action, the bathing. You're bathing in the morning. You're brushing your teeth. Everything is an offering to Him. So in fact, in DT worship, there are 5 parts of DT worship. One part of the DT worship is approaching the temple. And that begins with getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth. That action is also for His only. So Ramanuja gives a beautiful example. He says, somebody was saying, ye action unke pleasure ke liye kaise kya hua? So he gives an example. Look at this example. Beautiful example. He says, there was a king. The king had many fancy birds. Collection tha uske paas. Ekdam exotic birds, parrots, this, that. I don't know what are the best birds in town. He had a huge collection of birds. And what the king did is, he appointed a servant. And the servant's job was what? To feed the parrots, all these exotic birds, to give them food, to ensure that the cage is clean. All this he was doing. Okay. So this whole day and night for years together, what was the servant doing? Cleaning all the bird cages, all the stool he was cleaning, giving them food and water at the right time. If some bird is sick, ensuring medicine is given. All this he was doing. Now Ramanuja asks a question. For whose pleasure was the servant doing all this? Was it for the pleasure of the birds or was it for the pleasure of the king? What is the answer? King. You understood? See, externally, if you see somebody may say, "Arey, ye to birds ke pleasure ke liye kar rahe hain." Because daily he's going, he's cleaning the cage of the birds. All the stool which is stuck, he's cleaning. He's keeping fresh food daily. He's ensuring that every bird is healthy and plump and nice. Pura din kar kya rahe ho servant? Taking care of birds only. But for whose pleasure is those actions? King's pleasure. It is neither for the servant's pleasure nor for the bird's pleasure. It is all for the king's pleasure. Similarly, he says, this body which is there is like that bird. Okay? The jiva is the servant. Whole day is taking care of this, doing various things. Isko brush karo, isko clean up karo. But for whose pleasure? His pleasure. The king, the Paramatma. He has given this body to him to be engaged in his service. So he has to take care of that body only, na? So the actions are for whose pleasure? Nirmama. Okay? The servant is not cleaning those cages of those exotic birds for his pleasure or even for the bird's pleasure. See, that's more interesting. Because externally it may look that this is all done for the pleasure of the birds. No, it is for the pleasure of the king. So this is nirmama, nirmamata. ये मेरे लिए नहीं है, ये सब उनके लिए चल रहा है, ये पूरा action उनके लिए. Okay, everyone understood the second tyaga? What was the second tyaga? Mamata tyaga. What was the first tyaga? Kartritva. Arey, itna simple word hai. Kartritva means what? Doership. Buddhi. That consciousness that I am the doer. Tyaga. Oh, de diya wapas. First was what? Kartritva buddhi tyaga. Second was what? Mamata tyaga. There is another third tyaga which Krishna speaks in the Gita. This is called phala tyaga. Very simple. Phala tyaga. That means whatever you do, some result comes out of that, na? That result is for whom? It is for his pleasure. You understood? This is there in the Gita right from the beginning. Yajñarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Krishna says, tadatam karma kaunte muktasam. Everything should be done as a sacrifice to Vishnu. How many times Krishna says, phala is not yours? Right? The famous verse, karmanyavadikaraste ma phalishu kadachana. Phala is not yours. Phala is all his only. Anything you do, you earn money, you raise children, you win a kingdom, anything you do in this world, you run a business, that phala which comes out of that, see, that's why in the Indian system, na, everything is considered worshipable only, that phala also. Like if you say Navaratri, people, they worship their instruments, or in Lakshmi Puja, people worship Lakshmi Devi, right? Why it is done like that? Because whatever is coming out of our efforts, right? That the house itself is considered a temple. Everything, it's not that, this is not for the phala of whatever you have done. See, phala is outcome. You understood? See, there is a difference between these three things. The second one was the action. Third is the outcome of the action. Like if you go back to the other example, the action of the servants was to clean the cage of all the birds. The outcome of all the actions was all the parrots and the birds are nice and plump and healthy. That's the outcome. That is a phala. Okay? So anything you do, there is a phala at the end. And how many times Krishna is saying in the Gita, phala is not yours? How many times? I mean, you lose count of it if you keep counting from beginning to it. He's repeatedly saying the same thing. Even in fact, if you read the same verse that I read before, 3.30, there Krishna says, Nirmamo, one second, I'll just go back to that 3.30 Gita, 1 second. I mean, there are so many, but since I just took 3.30, I'm just reading that. See, Nirashir, without desire for gain. You understood? I mean, gain आपका नहीं है, तो किसका है फिर? उनका है. Again, if you go back to that, why is Krishna asking him to fight the battle? No, you whatever you get out of it, it is offered to Narayana, the phala of your result. Right? So this is there throughout in the Gita. Okay. So what are the three types of tyagas? First is kartritva, buddhi tyaga. Kartritva, buddhi important. There is a buddhi na, that I am the karana. Karta aham. Right? Karta aham. वहां से आ रहा है. करता मैं करता हूं, ऐसा है ना भावना. So what is the first tyaga? Kartatva buddhi tyaga. I am not the doer. Second is what? Mamadya tyaga. The action is not mine. Action is for his pleasure. Whatever, no? All actions. I told you, we are chanting verses where everything done by the body is also for his pleasure only. And third is which tyaga? Phala tyaga. Phala hota hai na har ek cheez ka. हर एक चीज का फल होता है. आप जो भी करोगे उसका एक फल आएगा. That phala is for his pleasure. This is considered Trivida Tyaga, 3 types of Tyaga, which is comprehensive. And you can find references for these throughout the Gita. And what is Krishna saying now in the 18th chapter? When Arjuna is asking, what should I do? Should I do Tyaga or Sannyas? What does he say? In the answers, if you see, Tyaga. Krishna emphasizes throughout the Gita on Tyaga. Not only in that chapter. See, Krishna's beauty is na, he's very consistent. वही चीज बोल रहे starting से end तक. ऐसा नहीं कि उन्होंने बीच में अपना गाना ही change कर दिया कि भाई अभी ने वो पहले वो बोला अभी वो नहीं. See, I mean, look at this. Look at 6.1 Bhagavad Gita. Shri Bhagavan uvacha anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriya. Look at what he's saying. Anashrita karma phalam. There he's talking. Here which tyaga he's talking about? Phala tyaga. Anashrita karma phalam. Without being attached to the fruits of work. Karyam karma karoti. One who does action. See, please remember, throughout the Gita, Krishna has not spoken about karma tyaga. Are you getting it? What is karma tyaga? Karma ही नहीं करना. वही तो अर्जुन को पहले से करना था ना. अर्जुन को उसी में इंटरेस्ट था. He was interested in karma tyaga. He was saying that कितना किचकिच है. उसको मारो, उसको मारो. नहीं करना. So Krishna, does he approve of that throughout? No, he doesn't approve. Throughout, what does he maintain? This only. Anashrita karma phalam. Karyam karma karoti. You have to do action. And such a person is saying, sannyasi cha yogi cha. He is the sannyasi. He is the yogi. Na niragnir na chakriya. Not the fellow who doesn't light fire. See, lighting fire is a euphemism because in traditional sannyas, a sannyasi is not supposed to light fire. A sannyasi only does bhiksha. See, the difference between a sannyasi and a brahmachari in the shastra is that a brahmachari does bhiksha of raw ingredients. Like when a brahmachari goes to Gurukul and he goes and does bhiksha, he will do bhiksha of raw ingredients. Like rice usko milega grain. और फिर गुरु के पास आके चावल बनाएगा वो उसका. You understood? But a sannyasi cannot do that. He is supposed to get cooked food only. You cannot give him raw ingredient because na niragnir. He is not supposed to light fire. That's how it is. So that's why Krishna is saying na niragnir. Na chakriya. You see, that fellow is not the sannyasi or yogi, but the person who is sannyasi actually is this. Right? So Krishna is very, very crystal clear throughout Gita. Arjuna is asking 10 times the same question. कभी-कभी लोग पूछते हैं ना वही चीज पूछते रहते हैं अलग-अलग एंगल से देखने के लिए कि आपने को जो आंसर चाहिए वो आता है क्या बाबा का. कृष्ण ने कभी दिया ही नहीं अर्जुन को आंसर. So Arjuna is asking the same thing from different ways to try to say somehow will Krishna say, okay ठीक है जरा छोड़ दो एक छतरी का घर में छोड़ दो. अरे वाह क्लास कॉल करेगा ये सब. So this was Arjuna's basic, what shall I say, need. He was thinking Krishna will somehow speak that. But does Krishna speak that? Never. Starting से end तक ऐसा बात करते हैं. He's very consistent, but he's consistent on Tyaga. Now let's try to understand the psychology. Why Tyaga? See how this is beneficial also, let's try to understand. See, this Tyaga is a very powerful concept. It actually helps you to do better the task, even if you look at it objectively. Because see, when you now know that, the action is not yours, the fruit is not yours, you are not the doer. Now you can do anything and everything. You understood? You are just acting as his instrument. Action for his pleasure, the fruit for his pleasure. Okay? So this is not supposed to reduce the motivation to work, rather increase the motivation to work. Like Arjuna now can fight with full vigor. Because he knows that everything is done as an offering to him. Everything means the thought of doership, the action and the fruit. Okay? So this is not suppose somebody may say, "Arey, itna sochne ke baad main kyun kaam karoon phir?" No, it's not like that. This is supposed to increase your motivation because now you have a higher goal. Arey, working for yourself was a puny goal, man. Working for the Lord is a bigger goal. It's a big picture now. It's not a smaller thing. You understood? Previously you were thinking that See, the servant has to take care of the bird for the king's pleasure. Oh my God, it's a small thing. It's different from having a bird in your own house and, kind of taking care of it. Now the king is there. He's going to come. Once a week he will come. He will not come daily. Maybe once a year he will come to see how are all my birds doing. Hooray, but that's such a big thing. Everything has to be put in spick and span at that time. Correct? Because now your objective of doing is something great. It's no longer that puny thing, about how I'm going to enjoy that. No, it's all for him. You're doing for some great personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For him, you're doing everything. So this is how the Gita motivates us to work. The Gita doesn't, because an ordinary person, that's why the whole Gita has to be seen as one unit. Because if you are not able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead's overwhelming, towering presence, like the king, then you will not be able to appreciate these points only. Somebody may say, yeah, see, mujhe kuch karna hi nahi hai abhi. No, that means you have not understood only Gita. Okay. And see, so the first thing is that you can do a bigger task because now you are doing it for him. Okay, that's first thing. Second thing is, see, the beauty is Krishna is not asking you to do something against your nature also. He is saying, whatever your nature is, do that only, but that is for me. So you understood this, that the nature is also satisfied in it. Correct? Because see, every body has a nature. Krishna is not asking Arjuna, now you start teaching somewhere. No. Arjuna is Ranotsava. He stays whole night and he shoots. He is called Savyasachi because he shoots with both hands. Shooting arrows is like, bayat ka khel for him. It is his pleasure. That only he is asking him to do, but in this consciousness. So your need of the body is also fulfilled. See, the body also has a need. That is also getting fulfilled because he is not asking you to do anything contradictory. If you see in a way, the whole bhakti of the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna is asking you to do what you normally do in the world only, but do everything for him. You get this? He's not asking you to do something different. He is not. See, that's again beautiful, right? Because it's most natural for people to act as per their orientation in life. That is also getting fulfilled. That is the second thing. Correct? And you are advancing spiritually as well. Because you are doing consciously with these tyagas. You are very conscious day in and day out. Morning, since the time you get up, till the night you go to bed, you are conscious. In fact, it is said that even when one goes to bed, one should reflect on whatever I did throughout the day to see whether I did everything properly as per, the Lord's pleasure. And then only go to sleep. So everything. So it's such a, it actually makes it so easy. And that's the beauty of the Gita. And in this way, in answer to those verses, if you see the later verses in the 18th chapter, Krishna talks about Tyaga only. And he says, that Tyaga only I will call as sannyas, he says. Krishna doesn't distinguish the two. He says sannyas means doing like this. Because for Krishna it is very clear. Giving up action, no. That was never recommended. In the Gita at least. Okay? Hare Krishna. Any question or comment? Anyone with anything? Yeah.
It is the action which you have to means Mamta Tyag means the desire that we or the understanding we have that I am doing it for my pleasure, that has to be given up.
Mamata Tyag, yeah.
Means I have to give up that desire. But sometimes we see that doing that practices, we also feel some joy and we also feel some pleasure while doing the practices of Krishna consciousness. So whether that feeling which comes as while
no, that's fine. See, anything, not only, see, when you say Krishna consciousness, you have to understand what is Krishna consciousness. Don't limit Krishna consciousness only to the direct activities of devotional service in that say. For example, if you see Arjuna throughout the Gita, how much time it comes that Arjuna is doing Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnum, only that thing. Correct? He is doing action fighting only. Gaurang Prabhu jokes, Arjuna doesn't tell Krishna, "Arey mera 4 mala baki hai, jara ped ke niche ruka do, mala kar do pehle, fir baaki week mein jayenge." So Krishna consciousness means anything that you do. Okay, it starts from taking bath, cooking, everything, anything you do, going to office, whatever you are doing, everything is to be done in this Chaitana only. Okay, that action. So Okay, now see, now some what shall I say, that the pleasure what you are talking is because of that nature being fulfilled, which is natural. Like Arjuna, when he's shooting arrows, he's enjoying it. It says in the Mahabharata, it comes also. You know, he's shooting, he's not feeling that as a burden. Because for body ke liye, it is good, it's suitable for his body. Take one arrow, shoot right at the target. He's not feeling that, you know, oh, when he strikes the target exactly, he feels happy only. Correct? He feels happy. So that is secondary. But there is a primary understanding that this action is for his pleasure. I'm doing it for him. So the servant who's taking care of the birds, he may also fall in love with the birds as he's taking care, thinking that array, this parrot is looking so cute and all that. But at the background of the mind, it is there. All these actions are for the king only. You know, I may be a tertiary, fourth level, person in this. Correct? It is for his pleasure only. That has to be clear. That is the bhava that one needs to have. Okay. So that feeling of enjoyment isn't condemned or isn't neglected. It's going to be there. But the proof is, see, what's the difference? I'll tell you. Tomorrow, that same action you may have to do when you're not feeling great also. Arjuna had to kill Jayadratha when his son had died one day before. That time is that action. Can you still do that action? That's the point, na? Are you getting it? See, normal person, look at Dronacharya. When his son died, what he did? I'll not fight. Action he gave up, na? Arjuna, did he do that? He lost all his children. इसको तो एक ही लड़का था, वो भी मरा नहीं है, मरने का एक रूमर था, छोड़ दिया एक्शन. Arjuna, did he do that? 7th day he lost Iravan, 14th day he lost Abhimanyu, 18th day he lost Shrutakirti. All his sons died. Correct? But action he was doing. That is the proof, na, that you are doing, the action is for Krishna. That means sometimes that same action may not give you pleasure. Every day the same action, chanting Hare Krishna, every day it may not give you pleasure. One day में भी ले क्या है, इतना बड़ा माला है, बाप रे, तो एकदम रस्सी के समान लग रहा है, फैन से लटकने वाला है. 16 करना है मेरे को ऊपर से नीचे. My God. So every day the action may not give you pleasure. Correct? Even for Arjuna, killing Jayadratha, it was not pleasure as in, it was very painful, right? Your son has died the day before and next day you have to fight such a huge thing. And the Mahabharata says, Duryodhan had kept Jayadratha at the end of the battle. You know, the distance is set in Mahabharata. The distance between Arjuna on that 15th day and Jayadratha was exactly, I'll tell you, the distance between Pune and Mumbai. That means Arjuna is standing here on the day of battle morning. Jayadratha is in Radha Gopinath temple. वहाँ जाके मारना है बंदे को. सोचो. And beach mein, it's not like a free drive expressway. Krishna is just, galloping at 100 miles per hour, right? 1 hour may only you reach and kill Jayadratha. There is a full pack army. Full jab, you can imagine. Now do your action. And yesterday your son has died also, on top of that. Are you seeing? So who can do this? One who is doing Mamata Tyaga. The action is for his pleasure. As an offering to him only, I'm going to kill this Jayadratha. Very clear. Correct? Yeah. Any other question? Yeah.
Acharya say that Arjuna was devotee, means he wanted to serve Krishna directly, but to make us understand, he was asking this type of question. So how to relate that in that way?
No, so see, two things. There is a drama being done, but overly you should not emphasize that point. Then it loses the whole thing. It's just like there is a drama on the screen, drama being performed on the stage, and someone is the father of another person, and the father is crying when the son is going away. You will not give saying, "Nee, actually your father nahi hai. वो drama में उसका role है ऐसा." Just to teach us how, father feels when the son goes away, he's crying. Actually, he's not the father. If you keep telling like that, can you enjoy the drama? What is this, man? कहाँ लेके आ रहे हो इसको? तो drama में जो है वो है ना? You get it? See, in a drama, every person has a role. To make that role appear very real, they will exhibit some dialogues, they will exhibit some emotions, they will cry, they will laugh at the appropriate time. But do you keep reminding always, no, he's actually not that. Everybody please remember, this fellow is acting as a hero, is not actually her husband or whatever. Just like that, he's showing love. Actually, he loves some other woman only, my God. Then you will not enjoy the drama, right? Are you going to enjoy such a drama? Always being said this. No, you will have to see Arjuna the way he is presented in the Mahabharata. You cannot keep saying, no, Arjuna actually knows everything. He is not illusion only. He is only doing all this because to teach you and me a lesson. अरे भाई फिर तो मजा चला गया फिर पूरे इसमें. फर्स्ट क्लास ड्रामा कर रहे हैं लोग और आप उसको एकदम मतलब you understood ना? Are you getting it?
Yeah.
Technically this is called rasabhas. You understood? Rasabhas means don't spoil the rasa. There is a rasa happening here. Take the rasa as it is. Don't spoil it. You get it? And we know that. Everybody knows Arjuna is pure devotee, is perfect. All that we know. But let's appreciate the drama. Okay? And ultimately it's for our benefit only. Na? So that part remains. So all the lessons are still intact. Are you getting? Yeah? Very well. Any other question? Yeah, go ahead.
What about like person's nature is of suppose Brahmana or something, but he's feeling intense greed to earn money and all.
Huh?
He feels intense greed to earn money, so he does the work of Vaishya because he's not able to tolerate the greed. So then what happens?
No, then he's not a Brahmana. See, so you have put this thing. No, it doesn't happen like that, na? The guna and karma decide your varna. So if you are, see, Krishna has in the 18th chapter later he has said what are the characteristics of each of these varnas. So depending on that varna only, one is assigned. You should have that characteristic also. Are you getting it?
You're telling it the person cannot have greed if he's
No.
only Vaishya will have greed.
Only Vaishya has greed. If you see the 6 anarthas now, generally speaking, Brahmana is mostly subjected to lust and anger. You see all rishis. How do they distract the rishi? Not by making money. कोई अप्सरा को लेके आ जाते हैं. वो नाचती है, वो greed, anger, श्राप दे देते हैं फिर. Kshatriya generally falls victim to pride and illusion. Pride, big pride, yes. Illusion गर्व. Vaishya falls victim to greed and envy. उसको पैसे चाहिए. You understood now? You behind money only. Even anarthas hit you according to varna, by and large. If you see all examples. So greed, Brahmana is not greedy fellow. He is behind knowledge. How can he be greedy? He may be greedy for knowledge, but not greedy for money. That's the last thing. Even today, if you see, those who are very intellectual, they are not so much behind money. They are behind knowledge. Knowledge attracts them, not money. Money is considered third class. That's not an important thing. Of course, some money everybody will need for their basic bodily maintenance. But that doesn't become prima in his life. Right?
What if circumstance?
Yeah.
What if circumstantially if a person does like we saw now then they were in Agyan first, so they were not able to do Satriya activity at that time. So sometimes the situation comes that you have to do Shudra work and all.
So that is apad dharma, na? That is emergency. That is emergency. That is apata.
So that we can.
But even that apata was in line with their nature. Bhima loved cooking. He was not just somebody who liked eating. Arjuna loved music and dance. That was his secondary hobby. Come on. He was not just loving, see, his primary this thing was shooting. Secondary was this dance and music. He had that. He had that nature. Really liked that also. See, even that time they did something that was in line with their nature only. They didn't say, let Arjuna cook, let Bhima teach dance. Bhima को नहीं interested dance में, नाच गाने में नहीं उसको interest. Arjuna was the, he liked that also. There is secondary swadharma also, no? Which is sometimes can be used at apatkala. But even that is in line only. Right? Hare Krishna. We have to stop here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Thank you.